In this video, we are going to discuss analytical paragraph writing. Let us first take a look at the learning outcomes. So after watching this video, you will be able to identify graphical presentation of data in different forms, analyze and summarize the information in written form in a logical sequence, and also you will be able to compose a clear and lucid analytical paragraph in a grammatically correct language using appropriate vocabulary. So students, you have already studied about various types of data presentations in mathematics like pie chart, bar graph, line graph, and tables. So analytical paragraph writing deals with describing that data presentation. So it is the process of assigning meaning to the collected information and determining the conclusions, significance, and implications of the findings or the data. The goal of the interpretation of data is to highlight useful information and suggest solutions and conclusions. Now, the features of an analytical paragraph. In this type of writing task, you are expected to analyze the data, describe it, and then draw conclusions about it. You need to cover the information provided and include all aspects of the data or other types of data presentation. There should be clarity and crispness in the language used. So let us first of all discuss the types of data presentations. You are already familiar with this. So in the figures you can see the bar graph. It is a chart with rectangular bars with lengths proportional to the values that they represent. The bars can be plotted vertically or horizontally. Bar charts are used for plotting discrete or discontinuous data which has discrete values and is not continuous. For example, in the first graph, there is data pertaining to the number of people playing soccer, basketball, and other games. So each game has separate figures and there is no continuity. Next is the cumulative or the stacked bar graph. It is used to compare the parts to the whole. The bars in a stacked bar graph are divided into categories and each bar represents a total. For example, in the first graph, the expenses on various things like rent, food, etc. have been shown in different colors in each bar, which when taken as a whole represent the expenses of a month. Next is the line graph. Here it displays information as a series of data points connected by straight line segments. So you must have plotted the line graphs. So a line chart is often used to visualize a trend in data over intervals of time, a time series. Thus the line is often drawn chronologically. So as you can see in this chart, so the years have been given and the trends have been drawn as per the years. Next is the pie chart. It's a circular chart divided into sectors illustrating proportion. In a pie chart, the arc length of each sector and consequently its central angle and area is proportional to the quantity it represents. Together, the sectors create a full disk. A donut chart, as seen in the picture, is functionally identical to a pie chart with the exception of a blank center. Let us now discuss the structure of an analytical paragraph. So first comes the title. So you have to choose a suitable title as per the contents of the graph. Then you have to introduce what you see in the graph, what the graph is about. And this you can do in 2 or 3 lines. And then you have to start with the body of the paragraph. It includes the details of the values of figures and trends as depicted in the data presentation, and you have to make comparisons and contrasts. The last part of the paragraph is the conclusion. It includes the overall view or summary of the chart or graph and the information and ideas in general as depicted by the data presentation. It should be concluding in nature and act as the closing statement. So here you have to tell what is implied by the graph or chart. That is what the values of figures tell about the aspects shown in the graph. Let us now discuss some points to be kept in mind while framing the body of the paragraph. So how to organize the information? So you should look for the large differences that are very prominent in the graph or in the chart. You can mention the aspect which is the smallest or the largest. And if you see some similarity in certain aspects, then you can mention that similarity also. And if some data remains unchanged or is constant, so that also you can mention. Next is how to compare the information. So if the chart mentions two or more different parties or aspects, then you have to refer to each one of them separately. And if there is any contrast or comparison, you have to mention that also. If the chart is about a particular time period or highlights trends of several years, then mention each year. And if any comparison or contrast can be done for 2 or more years, you should write about it too. So all these things will be more clear to you when we will deal with a few sample writings. So for mentioning quantities, you have to be very accurate. So you have to study the graph very closely and then note down the values accurately, and the quantities can be mentioned in the form of percentage, fraction, ratios, or simply you can give the numbers. Then how to connect the sentences. So if different ideas are there, you should use connectors or linking phrases to link the sentences logically. So you can make use of connectors like otherwise, furthermore, certainly, consequently, as a result of, therefore, hence, in case of, or you can use the word especially. Another point to be kept in mind is that the points should be in a logical sequence. So there should be coherence in the paragraph. So you can stick to a certain pattern of thought rather than putting your points haphazardly. So the sentences should be sequential and they should be connected rationally. Then points to be kept in mind as for the analytical paragraph. So the paragraph should be brief, but at the same time it should include the complete information as depicted in the graph or in the data other kind of data presentation. Then the language used should be simple, but it should be accurate, and even the figures and quantities and numbers should be accurately mentioned. And then you can use the tense as per the situation. So if the data is about some past years, then you can use the past tense. If it's about some general thing, then you can use the present tense, and preferably use the passive form of the verb. And then any personal opinion, conclusions, or observations should be avoided, but simply stick to the facts. Choose wisely the important information, then organize the points, then state the facts correctly, and at the end you have to summarize what the data deals with. So here you can see the vocabulary bank. So it's important to keep certain words or phrases in your mind so that you can pick and choose, and you can use the words or phrases as per the data. So for introduction, you can use phrases like the chart given above describes, the given table suggests, the line graph shows, the data given provides information about, the pie chart illustrates. For describing the pattern of growth, you can use words like rapidly doubled, skyrocketed, striking increase, peaked, reached a peak, soared, declined, plummeted. Plummeted also means declined. Leveled off, stagnated. So if there is no rise or fall in the values, then you can say that that value has stagnated. But on the contrary, if there are lots of ups and downs in the graph, then you can say that the values are fluctuating. Then the other phrases can be starting to rise, starting to fall, drop down, risen gradually or steadily. And if there is a sudden increase, then you can use the phrase risen sharply or risen steeply. Then other phrases can be reached maximum level, registered a sharp decline, a downward trend can be seen, the values have remained constant or unchanged, or they have steadied. Then for mentioning quantities, you can use words and phrases like one third of, nearly one fourth of, majority, on an average, twice as much, almost equal, the highest, the lowest, approximately. Then for establishing contrast, you may use words and phrases like similarly, in contrast with, in comparison to, however, whereas, as opposed to, while, a striking difference, a noticeable difference, sharp contrast, many times over. And for concluding, you may use words and phrases like overall, subsequently, in all, in a nutshell, in brief, in short, therefore. So now let us take up a few sample writings. So here, as you can see, it's a line graph, and it shows the percentage of the elderly people taking various activities, and the activities have been depicted through various colors. Like for example, for reading, the graph has been drawn in light blue color, for hiking it is orange, and so on. So here first of all we have to give the title. So the title can be leisure time activities undertaken by the elderly, and then you can introduce what you see in the paragraph, in the line graph, and you can write the introduction. So you can write that the graph above illustrates the percentage of the activities that were undertaken by elderly people in their leisure time from the year 1980 to 2010. These activities include reading, hiking, visiting theaters, watching TV, or surfing the internet. Then, in the body of the paragraph, you can take up each activity one by one. So, you can write that it is evident that from 1980 to 2010, there were some fluctuations. Interest in reading showed a gradual increase to 40% from 1980 till 1990, but sharply plunged to 20% from 1990 to 2000. Since then, until 2010, reading habits underwent a steep rise, and in 2010, 60% of the elderly displayed interest in reading. So here you can use phrases like underwent a steep rise, sharply plunged, and then there were some fluctuations. There was a gradual increase. So such phrases can be used to depict what is shown in the graph. And similarly, you can describe the other activities, and then you can give the conclusion. So the conclusion that can be given is that overall it can be seen that there were a significant variations in activities elderly people undertook in their leisure time. However, watching TV was the only activity that was most popular all the time. Visiting theaters and reading had fluctuations, but involvement in hiking and surfing the internet has constantly increased during the years. So as you can see in the last part of the paragraph, you just give the whole idea of that graph in brief. So let's take up another example. So as you can see, it is a bar graph. So here there are two paragraphs, but in the exam only one can also come. So here two paragraphs, they show a comparative study of the percentage of people who watch reality shows and game shows. So first, the title, you can give the title like comparative viewership of reality and game shows, and then you can give the introduction. So here you can write that the given bar charts show the percentages of both genders and four different age categories that watch reality and game shows. So here in the body you have to write about the difference in the percentage of men and women watching reality and game shows, and then the differences that can be seen in the various age categories also. So here for men and women you can write that more people enjoyed reality shows than game shows. More specifically, men enjoyed game shows more, evidenced by a significant increase in the percentage from 35% that watched reality shows to 62% that watched game shows. On the contrary, women preferred reality shows to game shows, as there was a slight decrease of 10% who watched reality shows as compared to game shows. So here like this you can compare the data for different age categories also, and then the conclusion can be given. So here, as you can see, the conclusion is given in the last part. So it is written that overall gender and age play a huge role in determining the popularity of reality shows compared to game shows. Women are more interested in reality shows as compared to men. Teenagers and young people seem to have an equal interest in both. Among people in the age group of 25 to 44, reality shows are more popular, while people aged more than 45 show almost equal interest in both. So, in this way, you can give the conclusion. So, next we see a pie chart here and a table. So, a table can come separately, a pie chart can come separately in the exam, but here there is a combination of both, and the data shown is interrelated. So, the pie chart shows the causes of land degradation. So, you can give the title first. So, the title can be Causes of Land Degradation, and you can write that the pie chart shows that there are four main causes of farmland becoming degraded. So, globally, 65% of the degradation is caused by too much animal grazing and cutting of trees, constituting 35% and 30% respectively. A further 28% of degradation is due to overall overcultivation of crops. Other causes account for 7% collectively. So, in a similar way, you can describe the table. So, here the data has been given for three different regions: North America, Europe, and Australia. So, you can give a comparative study. For example, you can write that these causes affected different regions differently, with Europe having as much as 9.8% of degradation due to deforestation, while the impact of this on Australia and North America was minimal, with only 1.6% and 0.2% of land affected, respectively. So, in a similar way, you can discuss about overcultivation, overgrazing, and then total land degraded, and the conclusion can be given. So, in the conclusion, you can write that overall it is clear that Europe suffers more from farmland degradation than the other regions, and the main causes there were deforestation and overcultivation. So, a map can also come where you will be expected to study what is given in the map and then write the analytical paragraph. So, as you can see here, it's the map of India, and it shows the literacy rate of various states of India. And the literacy rate has been depicted by various colors. Like, for example, the dark green color shows literacy rate of 90% and above. So, and the states where the dark green color is there, it is Kerala and Mizoram. So, in this map, you can describe the literacy rate of various states, and then you can give the conclusion about the average literacy rate of India. So, I hope you will be able to attempt the analytical paragraph writing with ease. Thank you so much.